Cancel culture, shadow banning, being gaslit, discredited, or silenced, shut down in some way by our peers, our families, the social media platforms, the government. It's all happening in 2020. But what can we do about it? And why is it so important for our health? So George Orwell, whether or not you've read Animal Farm or 1984, I'm sure you're familiar with his views on freedom of speech. And he said, the enemy is the gramophone mind, whether or not one agrees with the record that is being played at the moment. And I think this is such a powerful message for us in particular right now, because what is happening is each and every one of us is being drawn into that record that is playing, whichever record it is in the moment, rather than being in tune with our own deepest values and beliefs, irrespective of what is happening outside of us. Now, he also said that in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. At any point in your life, at any point in our socio-political craziness, the most important thing is to know your truth. Why is that so important, though? Is that not selfish? Is that not self-absorbed? Is it narcissistic even? Why should each of our voices be heard? I'll tell you why. Because at the root of each of us, we have a truth right within our core, beyond all external trappings, beliefs, judgments, everything, all the paraphernalia of society. We still could shed all of that and know deep within us, if we are attuned to listen, we have a truth. And it is when we are not speaking and expressing that deepest, most integral truth that we become sick. We become sick mentally, we become sick emotionally, we become sick physically, and we become sick spiritually. And when each one of these is at play, then we are a sick society in every sense of the word. I propose that the most insidious form of censorship is actually self-censorship. And when we can unravel that, then automatically we create a society that has genuine, integral, authentic freedom of speech for all. So those 5 ways. Number 1, conscious and compassionate questioning of where we judge others and ourselves. So where do we judge ourselves harshly? Where we judge ourselves harshly is where we judge others harshly. So for example, if I feel bad about my skin, then 1, I'm likely to look at other people and think, oh gosh, she's got spots, she should really cover that up. Or, wow, that woman has the most beautiful skin, but does she have to show it off? And honestly, it's hard. It's hard to uncover a lot of these judgments that we have about ourselves because we don't want to see them. Where am I being judgmental? Where am I trying to shut people down, to unfollow people, to unfriend or delete or block or cancel? Any of these things, even if it's temporarily. Why am I doing that? What is going on there for me? Because we are judging people based on our own insecurities and our own ideas of self-worth. And in that understanding, in that acknowledgement and full realization, there is so much gold to heal the wounded parts of ourselves so that we're not projecting that out onto the rest of the world. Now, of course, I'm not saying that you can never unfollow somebody on social media. Sometimes we need to do this for our own temporary mental well-being, mental and emotional well-being, because social media in particular is such a crazy place of comparisonitis. But reflection is the most healing tool that you can have for yourself. You can't simply expect to delete people out of your life forever. You have to do something. You have to process what is going on there for you. What is your biggest fear and how is it driving you? We all have these deep rooted survival instincts, often triggered by trauma of some kind or another in our upbringing. And if we're not careful, these fears will literally inform every single decision, every single relationship, every single path we take in our lives. So it's really important to, again, to face those fears, to look them straight in the eyes and determine how it is they're truly affecting each and every one of our actions, so that we have that information to hand and we can use it in our relationships. So on this note, Charles Bukowski said, censorship is the tool of those who have the need to hide actualities from themselves and from others. Their fear is only their inability to face what is real. Somewhere in their upbringing, they were shielded against the total facts of our existence. They were only taught to look one way when many ways exist. And so this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the kind of tunnel vision that we find ourselves in, where our fears blind us and want us to shut down anything that is not in the realms of what we deem to be safe. So whether that is a liberal view when yours is conservative, we literally don't want to hear other viewpoints that may feel unsafe, that may feel like they are attacking our own view of what is safe and what is real. So notice that. Notice that for yourself. Allow it to come up and not be ashamed or feel guilty that it's driving you. It's natural and it's normal. And yet, if we can be fully aware and conscious and actually allow ourselves to broaden our awareness and our consciousness around these fears and acknowledge that other people have fears that may not be the same as ours. In that, we find a deep empathy, a compassion for ourselves and for others around us. Number 3, what is your deepest value? So when we can really connect with others with their deepest values, even if they are perhaps seemingly contrary to our own, that is when we really truly heal ourselves, our society, and the planet. Our biggest values also have the ability to blind us again, much like our fears. And of course, a big part of this is the ability and willingness to listen. So, self expression, let me just say, is far from just spouting our own mind over and over, that, or even living in an echo chamber and just repeating whatever we're hearing from that gramophone over and over. We must be, this is where embodied expression really comes in. We must be fully embodied in our truth. Otherwise, all we're saying is very superficial and very reactionary. I don't know if you've ever had an experience where you're talking about something with another person and you realize you actually don't have much of an opinion on it. When you start to get deeper into the conversation, you realize in that moment that you're just spouting kind of facts or opinions of other people, of the media. I've definitely found myself in this situation, and it takes a great deal of courage to back away from that. In fact, I think this happens much more often than we would like to give ourselves credit for. If you're on social media every day, it's very easy to kind of read things, to consume things, and we just end up repeating that stuff because, oh, well, they believe that thing that I believe in, therefore the other things that they believe must also be something I believe. And of course, that's not true. Each of us is like an Irish stew, a whole melting pot of different beliefs and things that have kind of been ingrained in us through our own experiences, our own interactions, and our families as well. This is the biggest issue with cancel culture as it is, where one person, say a celebrity, happens to say or do something that seems out of character with who we believe that they are. And suddenly we think, well, that person, I'm just going to throw them out of my life because I don't believe in that thing. I think what they said or did is against my core beliefs and values. Therefore, I don't like them anymore. I find this very childish. It's like saying to one of our friends, I don't like you anymore because you went off and played with Fred and I don't like Fred, so I'm not your friend anymore. It all comes back to what is important. Can we see each other as individuals, as human beings, but also as members of a society, each with our own baggage, our own class, culture, education, background, whatever? We all have that, and it's different from everybody else. And yet, at our core, we're all the same. We're all here to do our best. We're all here to live our best lives, to live our fullest lives, to be loved, to love, to create something in the world worth creating and worth sharing. Isn't that why each one of us is here and living each day? So, how can we connect to that instead of deciding just to shut each other down in some way? Number 4, consciously embodying your deepest values. So, if one of your deepest values, for example, is eating fresh, organic, healthy food, fresh fruit and vegetables, and this is something you talk about perhaps quite a lot, is something you share memes on and write posts on, and you tell your children to eat healthily and you tell them why it's so important. That's not embodying that value. That's talking about it. It's very, very different. So when you embody your deepest values, you're doing it, you're being it. You're being that person who eats 10 fruit and veg every single day or more. You're being that person who creates beautiful, nutritious meals for yourself, regardless of what else is going on in your life. You're being that person who supports your local fruit and veg growers and producers. You are being that person on every single level that is available to you. So, what are your deepest values? And are you embodying them? When you do that, it becomes harder for you to criticize yourself subconsciously because you know that you're not fully embodying this. We've all done it. We've all been that person. And this can manifest in a number of different ways and a number of different intensities. One of the most common ways, honestly, is that we simply just don't speak up for ourselves and for our values. So if you ever find yourself in a conversation, either online or offline, where you know that you want to say something, that it's brimming within you, you might not have found the words yet, but the feeling is there. And you know you want to express it, but you are scared to. You're scared of how people will react, your friends, your family, your peers, complete strangers. on the interwebs, they might shut you down. They might call you out. They might question you. They might be disappointed in you. And so we quieten our voice. We think, I'll just keep that to myself just now. It's not appropriate. Tangent. One of the biggest ways that we are naturally censored is the idea of taboo. So it's that age-old thing, isn't it, of going to a party and saying, don't talk about religion, politics, or sex, because those topics are massive cans of worms, potentially. It's the taboo of women not discussing their menstrual cycles. What's that about? Who decided that? And why is it an issue? So the idea of what's appropriate is very, very damaging to our society. And it is a form of censorship. And so notice that for yourself. Where are you tabooing talking up about your values and your beliefs? So back to your body's fundamental expression. For me, for example, it was not allowing myself to write, even though I'm a writer. I am naturally a writer. It was not allowing myself to draw or paint or create, even though I am naturally a creator. It could be when we're feeling low that we don't allow ourselves to fully nourish ourselves. So we don't allow ourselves a nap. We don't allow ourselves healthy food. We don't allow ourselves to go for a walk. It's all a kind of self-sabotage, and it keeps us small, and it keeps us unhealthy mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So recognize for yourself where that is happening for you, where you are shutting down, whether consciously or subconsciously or unconsciously. Where are you shutting down your body's fundamental natural expression? And how can you begin to open that channel back up again for yourself, bit by bit? Now, bonus points. Learn to support others in their own journey to their fully embodied expression. This, to me, is just a fundamental requirement of being a compassionate and worthwhile human being. If we're not supporting others, we have to ask ourselves why. Why are we doing that? Why are we not supporting others? What are we gaining by not supporting other people in embodying their fullest expression? Does that come from a fear of potentially giving away our power, giving people more power? And if that is the case, then we really have to take a long, hard look at ourselves, because nobody can take our power away unless we let them. And this comes back to censorship. Nobody can take our freedom of speech away unless we allow it, unless we are complicit in this in some way. Yes, social media can shut down our accounts, can limit our posts, and deplatform us. Governments can tell us you're not allowed to attend your school or your job or whatever unless you follow certain guidelines. However, this does not take away our fundamental embodied expression and our ability to do and be that for ourselves, and to stand up for other people to do and be that for themselves, and our ability to support each other in doing and being that for ourselves. Are we going to be a censored society? Are we going to allow that to happen? Are we going to be complicit? Or are we now going to begin to uncensor ourselves in order to create an uncensored society where people can live their fullest and most integral embodied expression? Hey, this is Zoe Foster from lifeenergyalchemy.com. If you've loved this video, then please click the thumbs up, share it on social media, and tag me at Zoe KM Foster so I can see where you've shared it and give you a thank you. And please subscribe. Click the subscribe link here so that you get notified whenever I post great new content like this. Thank you.